Well, thanks for joining us again. This is Talking Politics in Western Pennsylvania. I'm Bill Merrell. I'm the host of the program. We're coming almost to the end of the Biden-Harris 10-part series of their administration. This is part 9. It's called After the Coup. The New York Times columnist labels Joe Biden ousting a coup. The New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd has labeled the Democratic Party's removal of the U.S. President Joe Biden a coup, even though it was the right thing to do because Joe Biden was not going to be able to campaign, much less serve as a president for the next 4 years, in a fully vital way. It was a jaw-dropping punch, she wrote. A coup, as defined by Britannia, a coup d'etat, a sudden overthrow of an existing government by a small group. A group is charged or a change in power from the top that merely results in the abrupt replacement of leading government personnel. A coup rarely alters the nation's fundamental social and economic policies, nor does it significantly redistribute power among competing political groups. We'll see if that's true. The result of the presidential primaries. Donald Trump had 17 million plus votes. Joe Biden had 14 million plus votes. Kamala Harris had none. But I was democratically elected by the people, and Kamala wasn't democratically elected by anyone. And you see Biden or Obama there, sorry, Joe, we have to save democracy. Is that what they did? Well, we'll see. When has a president been denied his party's nomination? It only happened once in an elected president. That was Franklin Pierce, the 14th president, who was elected as a Democrat in 1852. His pro-Southern sentiments and his policies of failing to lead on the divisive issue of slavery badly hurt his standing with the voters. Let's meet Biden's replacement and see what you think.
Yeah, I am radical. We need to get radical about what we are doing and take it seriously. As President of the United States, I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a green new deal. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance.
Let's eliminate all of that.
But would you support changing the dietary guidelines?
Yes.
The food pyramid. What would people
Yes.
to reduce red meat specifically?
Yes, I would.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Where do you stand on defund the police?
This whole movement is about rightly saying we need to take a look at these budgets.
Harris asserted that ICE is perceived as the modern-day Ku Klux Klan.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
That puts ICE in the same category as the KKK. Is that what you're asking me? I see no.
I'm not finished.
I see none.
And yeah, I am radical. We need to get radical about what we are doing.
Now, Sky News out of Australia is always looking at the politics in the United States. One, they used to compare and try to be like it. They've stopped doing that, okay? And here's a look at what they have, because our media is so in bed with the Democratic Party that it's they're not honest about anything. So let's look at this and see what she has to say.
But first, let's ponder for a moment about the woman who is one geriatric heartbeat away from the presidency and has been deemed the future of the Democratic Party.
President Kamala Harris is because she is indeed the future of the party.
And what a party it will be, led by this intellectual heavyweight, this visionary.
We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Yes, President Kamala Harris is a real possibility. Not to be elected, she is unelectable, but they may convince Joe Biden to step down and elevate her to the position of the most powerful human being in the world. In the lead up to the election, why they would contemplate such a move when the polls show that Harris would lose by an even bigger margin to Trump than Biden, well, I can't answer that. The Democrats are demented and increasingly desperate, so anything is possible. But let's go back to Kamala, who, you know, she's out there on these streets.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. And let me tell you, you're right, Taraji. There is so much at stake in this moment. The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they're not like us. Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here on these streets. She released that cringeworthy ad this week, but I guess it's just a little bit better than this cringeworthy performance.
To the lovely people of Wakanda, I know you will make the right choice. And as always, Wakanda forever. Paid for by Kamala Harris.
You know what I love most about Kamala is the wisdom. What other leader could bestow such gems of wisdom on the populace?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context. Go round and round. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. Here's the thing. Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right? You guys are gonna see, you're gonna literally see the craters on the moon with your own eyes. Oh my goodness. With your own eyes, I'm telling you. She looks at me and she says, oh, look at you. You're prettier than you're on television. Mike, look at her. No. I love Venn diagrams. I really do. I love Venn diagrams. It's just something about those three circles, and that's it.
Well, to move on, once again, because she loves Venn diagrams, we're going to show you one here, and we'll be able to actually support this with information later on. 300,000 illegal immigrant children have gone missing under border czar Kamala Harris. Okay, this is according to the Department of Homeland Security. The stunning report goes on to say that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has no assurance that these unaccounted illegal immigrant children are safe from trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor. Kamala Harris patronizes convenience store her administration sued for allegedly racist background checks. What's interesting about this is Biden-Harris administration suing the chain, and that chain happens to be Sheetz Market, where she stopped actually to get a cola or something, and they considered it race because she was asking for the potential employees' criminal backgrounds. Now, I think that says a lot about Biden and Harris, where they think that all minorities must be criminals because that's the only people who have this on their record. Our local McDonald's was sued greatly by a manager that, in fact, apparently they didn't check his background and it was criminal. But once again, okay, Sky Harris once again looks at Kamala Harris.
We may any day now, any minute now, have the comprehensively inept, bumbling giggler-in-chief Kamala Harris installed as the leader of the free world and the Democrats' 2024 presidential candidate. No elections, no primaries, nothing. Isn't it funny how the side that bleats endlessly about threats to democracy is the biggest threat to democracy? It's always about projection with these folks. For whatever you may think of the cognitively impaired Joe Biden, he has won the delegates necessary for renomination. They had primaries, Joe won them. In any sort of democracy, that matters for something, but not anymore. And it's not because they suddenly discovered Joe was mentally unfit for office. It's because he is floundering in the polls. Even before the debate, he was in peril. But after his cognitive decline was laid bare, the vultures have come out. And it's the wildly unpopular and incompetent Kamala Harris who is right now seen as their best chance. Yes, this woman.
We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But just limited to what we have seen.
Okay, once again, they can just go on, but it's interesting to see that other countries look at the United States and are now laughing. I have relatives in Spain who shake their head. They don't know what's going on. But here's Harris. Up before she ran, she banned fracking, has open borders, defund the police, no private health insurance, and now she has backed away from every one of these issues, all right, which is embarrassing to begin with, but no one knows where she stands because she won't talk to the media. Her last thing with ABC was, I think it was ABC, was 18 minutes long, but they taped for 40 minutes. So you have to wonder why or what they left out. From get rid of it to expand it. Harris child tax credit flip-flop again. In 2017, she voted against Donald Trump's child tax credit. Okay? Now, whenever Vance supports raising that tax credit to $5,000, she now supports raising it to $6,000. Okay? So once again, this is just one of the many things she's flip-flopped on, but you don't know if she honestly means it or not. That's the problem, because yesterday she honestly meant all those other things. Stunning reversal from condemning Trump's wall to claiming it as her own. All right? You see in her advertisements now, she has Trump's wall, and it's in her advertisement. And Kaczynski there discovered 50 instances where Harris criticized the border wall as vain, as just a show place for him. You know, it's really quite disgusting when you realize that she's telling so many lies and so many distortions. And her advertisements from all of these PACs that are pushing this 2025 program, which has already been defunct. I mean, it's just a never-ending saga. She even reversed her course on plastic straws. Now she doesn't mind them, okay? Like I said, every time she gets caught on something, all of a sudden she turns around and blames, well, they say that I did that, and that's not necessarily the truth. Now, this is coming from the Democratic National Convention.
In all these speeches, as good as they were, is that she's in the White House right now. Democrats have controlled the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. And for all of the talk about division and the problems in the country and people are hurting, Democrats have mostly controlled this country. Trump had it for 4. The Obamas and Biden had it for the rest of the time. And somehow, it's still all Trump's fault, and somehow she hasn't been at the center of it. So to me, that's still the glaring hole in this campaign that hasn't yet been solved at the convention. How do you explain all of the problems that will be solved by the person who is currently in there for the last 3.5 years, who is supposed to already be working on solving it?
Let's look at the Democratic National Convention in 2024. It was a unique situation, and as you see, I have a flag sitting here. I served the country for 20 years. Did you notice that there were no American flags at the DNC convention? Like I said, this explains a whole bunch of things when you realize the history of these people that are involved. It's sad and it's disgusting. But ABC moderator Lindsay Davis admits fact-checking was only planned for Trump. Okay? They didn't care if she lied her butt off, all right? If she distorted things, and we'll see a slide coming up within this program or the next one, talking about over 20 times whenever she distorted things, said things that weren't true, that they did not call her on. Davis told the Times that ABC had deliberately targeted Trump. I don't even know why he went back to the ABC, because the last time that he and Hillary Clinton were debating on ABC, Brazil, that member of the Democratic National Committee, gave Hillary the answers of the questions that they were going to be asking. All right, so they were dishonest before. Well, they're still dishonest. As you see, you have to go through a series of walls and have a proper identification. It's terrible how they treat people at the border. That's how you get into the Democratic National Convention. All right. So you can get into this country without any ID or anything, but you, in fact, in any of their situations, you need an ID. Planned Parenthood offers free abortion vasectomies at mobile clinic near the DNC. All right, it's come down to a sad time in our history whenever this is the main problem with an entire Democratic or an entire political party. All right. George Soros launches new plan to manipulate swing states. Tara McGowan, a Democratic agent, started it after receiving $20 million from billionaire George Soros' Open Society Foundations. Now, it's interesting because during the last 2 weeks, Bernie Sanders just said that they've got to stop accepting money from billionaires. Apparently, the Democratic Party is not yet caught on to that idea. Michelle roasted for lecturing U.S. on taking more than they need. Okay, I've never listened to Michelle Obama for anything. They became multimillionaires. They have 5 or 6 different residences, which are multi-million-dollar properties. And I will agree with her on this one thing. My parents taught me never to trust wealthy people. And in her case, I totally agree with it. The Harris plan of taxing uncapitalized gains is really scary. Okay, and this means, and in Peters Township, I sold real estate here in the 70s. Okay, so some of these homes that I sold for $35,000 and $40,000 are now on the market for $500,000 and $600,000. Her plan, if you meet the financial other conditions, her plan would be that you could be taxed on the difference between what you paid, what you fixed up the property, and everything else to the market value today. So if, in fact, you bought the house, for example, for $50,000, then all of a sudden you, in fact, sold it for $500,000. So you had an uncapitalized gain of $450,000. She wants to tax 25% of that on a yearly basis. Think about that. On a yearly basis. Now, this is going to hit retirees even worse, because if you bought stocks, for example, what if you bought crypto at $35 and now it's $69,000? That unrealized capital gains, the one that happened just because the price went up, you're now going to be responsible for it. You're responsible on a yearly basis. Okay? When I lived down in Virginia, they taxed my car on a yearly basis. So unlike up here where you get a 6% sales tax whenever you sell or buy a car, down there they tax it yearly. So what that may mean, you're spending almost $12,000, $14,000 in the future, okay, on the car that you bought. So this should really scare people.
a weaker than expected jobs report.
A sign that a recession is imminent.
Bidenomics is working.
That's just not true. Families are struggling with rising prices, and Kamala's lying.
We have been lowering the cost of living for so many people.
She lied about her border crisis, too.
We have a secure border.
Oh boy, Kamala lies about the border. She lies about higher prices. Kamala lies a lot. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Just remember how things have been since Harris took office. She is running to fix the failures that she hasn't fixed since she was elected vice president. Gas up 50%. Hotels up almost 52%. Eating out up 23%. Rent. Car insurance. You know, now if you live well, especially in Florida and California, your home insurance in 4 or 5 years may be similar to what you paid for the house. All right? So, I mean, like I said, these costs are going out of touch. And as you see there, Harris did that. You name the item and the problems that we've had. Barack Obama is about to put police officers in a scary situation with Harris's support. Okay, and this is scary all by itself. She supported the Fund the Police movement in June of 2020. The whole movement is about saying we need to look at these budgets and figure out whether it reflects the right priorities. Okay, what they want to do is set the people, the police officers, with non-lethal, no tasers, no guns when you stop people. The only problem with that is most of the police today get injured on traffic stops. And as you see there, the committee, this wacky committee that they've put together, the Equity Committee, believes that police all stop just based on race. And you know what? It's not true. Just like they try to spread rumors that police kill more blacks than whites. No, it's not true. Harris Camp offered $1,000 for Beau Biden's foundation donor access. Okay, as a registered 501c3 corporation subject to strict regulations, this purchase is in violation of those laws. But you don't hear anything until you get pointed out to. And let's hear what Kamala says about Generation Z.
So we designed this program around the 18 through 24 mostly, but it was usually up to 30. First-time, low-level drug sales offender. But by extension, I'll say going forward, we should think about the 3 nons as a total population, right? And here's what we did. We recognized the fact that 18 through 24, when I was at Howard University and we were in college, we were 18 through 24, and you know what we were called? College kids. But when you turn 18 and you're in the system, you are considered an adult, period. Without any regard to the fact that that is the very phase of life in which we have invested billions of dollars in colleges and universities, knowing that is the prime phase of life during which we mold and shape and direct someone to become a productive adult. What's the other thing we know about this population? And it's a specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories.
Well, I think that she may be right, especially anybody who votes for her. And here's a comment that she made, and I have to read this because it says everything about her you possibly need to know. I promised to do everything I could have done, but didn't do because if I did it, I wouldn't have to promise to do it, even though I could do it now, but don't because I don't know what to do otherwise. I would have done it. I think this says the feeling for most people in my generation for sure, but I'm sure generations after mine, that we miss the America we grew up in, all right? It shouldn't be like this. I'd like to thank you very much for coming. I hope you paid attention, and I hope you pay attention to the new or the next, that's the 10th version of this program. It's hard to imagine that we're still putting up with many of the things that have happened during this last 3 3/4 years. But we'll look forward to seeing you on the 10th part of this series, Talking Politics in Western Pennsylvania. Thanks for coming. This is Bill Merrell, the host.